Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate how you can use the useState hook in React. But before we jump into that, let me quickly show you why we even need states. So let's first just create a variable, and I'm gonna call it count, and let's set it equal to 0. And I'm using let here because later I need to change the value. So yeah, let's now create a button with the text increment, and we need to wrap this div and the button in a fragment. So let's do that. Okay, and here I'm going to use the variable count. So here you can see the value of our variable. Let's now create a function, and I'm going to call it increment. And what this will do is that this function will increase the value of count every time the function is called, and I'm going to call this function on every click. So let's apply the on click here, and I'm going to call increment. So whenever we click this button, it's gonna run the function, and that will increase the count. So let's go to the browser and press the button a few times, and as you can see, nothing really changes in our UI, and the value of the count is still 0. So why does that happen? Well, you might be thinking that maybe our function is not correct, or that it's not working properly, but that's not the case, and we can actually pretty easily prove that. So I'm going to add a console log here, and I'm going to print the count. So whenever we press the button, it's going to print the value of count. So let's see what really gets printed, and I'm going to click this button a few times, and as you can see, the count variable is correctly being printed in our console. So of course our function is correct. However, we are not seeing the changes in the UI, and the reason why this happens is that when you create a function like this in React and then later change it using a function, React does not re-render the UI. So you always see the same thing on the screen even if your variable has changed. So to solve this problem, we use states. So let me show you how you can use it. First, we need to import useState from React, and then we can actually destructure the two values that useState provides us. So I'm going to call them count and set count. So that's actually the usual convention. You have something and then set something. So useState actually returns these two things, a variable and a setter function. So let's use useState here, and in the parentheses I'm going to put the initial value, which is going to be 0. So here count is 0, and set count function will help us increase or decrease or do whatever we want with this variable. So let's create the function, and let's increase the value of count by 1 every time this function is called. So now if we press the button, you can see that the UI also changes, and it correctly shows us what the value of count is. So what really happens is that whenever we click this button, this calls the function increment, and that sets the count to count plus 1. And whenever our state changes, so in this case count is actually a state, it's not just a variable. And whenever a state changes in React re-renders the entire component. So that's exactly why we need states, and that's how you can use states in your project.